for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man. How you doing? Today's Wednesday, September 21st, 2022. I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black. For KJCR, the Game Changer, and NX Networks, Race Hobbs, I am your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? What a great week on the show. Tonight, very special guest, producer, director, writer, journalist. Melissa Tittle is with us for the first time. We're going to talk about what drives her in creating all of this amazing content for our community. Where's that come from? We're going to do all of that tonight. I have worked with Melissa for not quite 10 years. I'm going to say a solid 8 for sure. We have hung out most of the last year. We have done stuff all around the country. And she's amazing. She's absolutely amazing. So tonight, she's going to share all of that with us. And here's the thing about Melissa. All right. Now, I'm going to save all of this for our conversation. But here's the thing. She asked me the craziest questions, the best questions. But I'm like, where? This is cool. This is where we're going to go. Okay. All right. Where's this coming from? I'm going to get all of this out of Melissa tonight because we've had this professional relationship. I've never been able to just figure out how that brain of hers works. And I'm going to do all of that tonight. So stay tuned. She'll be with us at the bottom of the hour. Tomorrow night is Fader night with open lines all night long. And besides tonight with Melissa, tomorrow is my favorite night of the week. Coming up, I will be hosting and emceeing the Conscious Life Expo. It is this February 10th through the 13th at the LAX Hilton. I've been hosting that event for, I guess, 7 years now. I guess this might be, it's a 2023. I guess this might be year number 8. Wow. Tickets and info, consciouslifeexpo.com. And now the presentations there are amazing. The quality of the brightest and the best are at Conscious Life Expo. But for me, the highlight is the talent show. Yeah, man. The talent show on Saturday night. You don't want to miss that. So come and check it out. February 10th through the 13th at the LAX Hilton right here in Los Angeles, California. Then right after that, April 7th through the 14th, 2023, I will also be hosting and presenting on the Hidden Secrets Seminar at Sea Cruise. Great list of presenters and speakers there, including Scott Walter, Adam Apollo, Nick Pope, Brad Olson, and Vivian Chauvet. All right. Now, what I want you to do is go over and get your free membership to the NX Network It's all easy to do. Become a member of the X at unxnetwork.com. The links are below. Just head over. It's right there on the homepage. It's totally free. It's totally cool. List of everything. All of the benefits of becoming a member are right there, unxnetwork.com. And Eden Pure, they keep extending it because it's what the Fadernauts want. The 3-pack special on the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. The Eden Pure Thunderstorm. Man, I love smelling this thing. I do. Yeah, yep. Eden Pure. No filters, by the way. You just turn it on, it runs. It's got a plug on the back. I use USB. The one in my gym is plugged into the wall, but everything else I use the USB because it's convenient, especially, obviously, for the car. Kills germs, kills viruses, makes everything smell great. And the best part, save $200 on 3. That's right. 3-pack special. Free shipping. Promo code Fader3. The links are below. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. The Sandbox is hashtag F2B on Twitter. We don't bite. Come and hang out with us over there. And if you've really got the crazy gene in your DNA strand, if you got that, go check out the chat room on YouTube. Yeah, you've been warned. Go check that out. Let's get to the breaking news. On September 8th, the FCC announced its new proposal to require operators to remove their satellites from orbit within 5 years of the end of their purpose in orbit. Currently, the limit is set at 25 years. Space junk is a real problem. Check this out. Back in 2009, a smash up between an active Iridium communication satellite and the long dead Russian Cosmos 2251 satellite created nearly 2,000 pieces of space junk, most of which is still in orbit today. Now, in its draft order, the FCC's 5-year rule would require satellites licensed in the U.S. or those licensed elsewhere that seek access to the U.S. market that are orbiting up to 2,000 kilometers above the Earth to be deorbited within that time frame at the end of their mission. And there you go. Now, that's the FCC. And most markets in the world, they want to be a part of the United States. And this pretty much affects every country in the world. Now, this is breaking news. Archaeologists in Prague are currently uncovering a monumental building from the Stone Age. It's a roundel. It's a round monument. They're calling it Prague's Stonehenge. It was built about 7,000 years ago. It's located in the district of Vinor on the outskirts of the city. Roundels are large circular structures from the Neolithic period that were constructed between 4600 and 4900 BC. That makes them the oldest monumental buildings in Europe, far older than the Egyptian pyramids and England's Stonehenge. You should see the pictures. This one is complete. The base of it. It's amazing. Go check it out. Now, this is a trip. I love reporting news like this because it's strange. Because scientists using ultra-powerful lasers have blasted cheap plastic and transformed it into nanodiamonds. And in doing so, confirmed the existence of an exotic new type of water. I'm not making this up. The new research shows that this type of diamond formation may be more common than scientists previously believed, raising the chances that ice giants, planets out there, may sport thick layers of diamonds around their solid cores. The experiment also strongly suggests that the high temperatures and pressures found in the interiors of such tiny worlds, an exotic state of water called superionic water, emerges. If such super ionic water exists on ice giants such as Uranus and Neptune, the movement of protons through this exotic type of matter may help generate the peculiar magnetic fields observed around those planets. The other part, which is obvious, the other part that's cool, is that maybe in the future, we can reduce plastic garbage and replace it with a bag of diamond dust. Yeah, it's crazy. Archaeologists in Israel have discovered a cave that ancient people sealed 3,300 years ago, hiding graves and possibly human burials within it, just yards away from a beach south of Tel Aviv. Use of the cave dates to a time, check this out, when the ancient Egyptians, led by Ramses II, who reigned from 1279 BC to 1213 BC, ruled what is now Israel. During the time of Ramses II, Egypt controlled an empire that stretched from modern-day Sudan all the way to Syria. The archaeologists found dozens of pottery vessels, including deep and shallow bowls, bronze arrowheads, as well as goblets, chalices, cooking pots, storage jars, and lamps for lighting. And perfectly preserved, by the way, undisturbed, not looted, sealed off cave that was right there on the beach in Tel Aviv. It's absolutely amazing. All right, I posted this earlier today. Fate or not, if you like Stranger Things like I do, well, today is your lucky day because the buyer's house is for sale. Now, it's not in Indiana. I thought it was, actually. It's in Georgia. It's in Fayetteville, Georgia, and they're listing it for $300,000. It's got a decent chunk of property tied to it, but it looks just like it does in the TV series. And I don't know if it's worth $300,000, but you can go and check out the listing now. And hey, you know what? It would make a great Airbnb. I think so. Yeah, I think you could sell that thing out. Breaking news that happened earlier today out of Russia. Commercial flights in Russia that are direct flights to countries that do not require Russian visas are sold out. They are sold out through September 29th as of today. Direct flights from Moscow to Istanbul, Armenia, Azerbaijan are among those that are full, according to all of the ticket aggregator sites. The term leaving Russia, air quotes, the term leaving Russia saw a sharp spike in Google searches among Russians over the past 24 hours. All of this according to Google Trends. Google Trends also shows that there's a sharp rise in people searching for Aviasales, which is a leading Russian flight sales engine. The number has quadrupled in the last 24 hours. According to Aviasales, a ticket aggregator, one-way tickets on Friday out of Moscow to Istanbul are starting at $2,700 and $2,715 per ticket. Before Putin's partial mobilization announcement, the tickets cost about $300. One-way fares over the next week to Belgrade, Tel Aviv, Istanbul have multiplied by at least 5 times. That's nuts. Well, now here you go. I'm going to talk more about this in just a minute. A spirit bear has been spotted in Michigan for the first time. It's a 1 in a million white-colored bear and is considered a symbol of change for indigenous peoples. Spirit bears are a type of black bear, but instead of dark fur, they have white or cream-colored fur and nearly white claws. They are not polar bears or albinos. Their coloring is down to a different genetic condition. There are only about 100 spirit bears in the entire world, according to the North American Bear Center. Most of them live in a couple of islands along the coast of British Columbia in Canada, Princess Royal and Gribble Islands. How did this spirit bear travel 1,300 miles from one of the coasts to Michigan? Nobody thinks that happened. This is a 1 in a million situation right now in Michigan, and there are some people saying it's a sign of change. Incredible. You see the photographs. Let's get the show cracking. On this day in history, 1963, without warning, the Long Island Express, a powerful Category 3 hurricane, slams into Long Island and southern New England, causing 600 deaths and devastating coastal cities and towns. It was the most destructive storm to strike the region in the 20th century on this day in 1963. All right. Now, here's your Fader fact. All right. Now, I do a Fader fact every night on the show. And every night your mind is blown. And I've got to go back. I've got to vet this and I've got to research this. I want to make sure that my Fader fact is correct because it's a Fader fact. So here is tonight's Fader fact. Baked beans aren't baked. And that is your Fader fact. You like that? Bet you didn't know that. I always wondered. Baked beans. I did that for Ken Priest, by the way. I thought I'd do a foodie Fader fact tonight. Baked beans. Somebody help me, please. All right. Tonight, very special guest, producer, writer, director, journalist, Melissa Tittle is with us for the first time. I cannot believe this is the first time Melissa is on the show. I'm a little embarrassed by that, but that's another Fader fact. Fader fact. Tonight is the first time Melissa Tittle has been on the show. We've got a lot to discuss with Melissa. Stay right there. She'll be with us at the bottom of the hour. Tomorrow night's another Fader night with open lines all night long. And now it's time for me to hit this River Moon coffee. Yeah. Rivermoonwellness.com. Fade to black blend. I like my coffee, Doc. I do. Doc. Yeah. Promo code F2B Blend gets you 15% off of your order today. Get it at our Amazon store and, of course, over on the website. The links are below. All right. So the spirit bear. 1 in a million, right? And going through and researching the spirit bear, and this particular one in Michigan, by the way, there are no laws protecting a spirit bear, right? And so hunting season and all of that, and I was sitting there thinking, could somebody go and hunt, kill the spirit bear? All right, so that got me thinking even more. Well, I mean, and I know it seems that the world is upside down right now, and I get that. We all feel it. It's strange. We're in strange times. But is it really? Right? Is it really? And then I try to convince myself that everything is going to be fine and we're going to work through this and then the spirit bear pops up and it's like, well, wait a minute. Oh man, really? And then what if, right? What if some crazy man, I'm going to bag me that spirit bear. I'm going to go and do, and for a little bit of fame, right? News clipping, maybe get on TMZ. These are thoughts that popped into my head. And I thought, is this a sign that the world really is upside down right now and that we have something to be concerned about and what the future may be? I hope not. And I hope that the spirit bear is just fine and we'll work through that. But are we really upside down? No, we're not. And let me explain. As crazy as this seems, where every day you wake up and you've got some insane headline, riots, Concerned, fake news, drama, heavy drama, world events that it's not only the United States, and of course, what we went through for the last 2 years. Thank goodness it's now at its end. But as crazy as this is, as worried as you may be at times, including myself, as intense as it may be, I'm telling you right now, it's not the Cuban Missile Crisis. Oh, no. No matter how nuts you think it is today, you're just comparing it to yesterday or 5 years ago, 10 years ago. You weren't around when the Cuban Missile Crisis jumped off. I'm 58. I was a month old when that thing happened. So, in 1963. So, or I might have even missed it. But the point being, I don't remember it and I'm 58. So therefore, you do not remember it either. And I don't care how old you are. You got to be 80 years old to remember the Cuban Missile Crisis. As tense as it is today, just imagine, put it in the back of your mind, if the news today was Russian freighters full of nuclear missiles in the Caribbean, building nuclear missile sites on an island 100 miles off the coast of the United States. Now, if that was going on today, whoo, I can't imagine. Now, so hopefully that just calms you down a bit and gives you some immense respect for your parents. Because if your parents went through that tense couple of months of craziness, U-2 overflights, the Pentagon, people making plans, Russia making plans, threats, saber rattling, nuclear saber rattling right off the coast of the United States, and the threats and what had to happen, the standoff at sea, blocking Russian ships off of the coast of the United States. I cannot imagine the nights of no sleep for everybody in the country, if not the world. Everybody on real edge. Not a Ukrainian edge. Not a COVID edge. Not a I lost my job edge. The world is going to end tonight edge. So think about that. Are we upside down right now? No. It's crazy. We're comparing it to the 80s. We're comparing it to the 90s. Comparing it to the 2000s. It's no, it's not. And I had said 2 years ago, I said, no matter what we go through over the next couple of years, and I said this at the onset of everything, I told everybody, we don't have to rebuild the world. This is not like a World War III, and we've got to, no, this is not. This is just a thing that we're going to work through. It sucks for some people. It sucks for a lot of us. It sucks for me, but we're going to get through it. And in the end, we're going to be better. Right? That's a different concern than nuclear weapons off of the coast of the United States and a standoff with Russia. That's real upside down. So again, I hope that gives you a real appreciation for those that raised us and got us through that and raised us a certain way going through that kind of tense situation. There have been others. There have. But the Cuban Missile Crisis was in 1963. So there you go. We're not upside down. And that spirit bear is going to be just fine. I think it's a sign of good things to come. All right? All right. This is Fade to Black. I almost said Coast to Coast. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Melissa Tittle is with us. And tomorrow night is going to be another Fader night with open lines all night long. Oh. before I get to it, Melissa and I were talking before the show. We were talking about the B-52s. And so I'm going to throw this over to the chat room. Oh, I kind of did a little disclosure. I'm going to throw this over to Twitter and the chat rooms that are out there. I want to see everybody's reaction to this. She came from Planet Claire. She came from there. She drove a Buick Satellite faster than the speed of light. One of the great lyrics of all time. And I sung that to Melissa right before the show. I did. I was crooning. And I was saying that the B-52s sang about E.T., space, contact, the future. That's what they were all about on those first two records. And it all came to me because you're going to see in just a second, Melissa's coming to us from the basement, which is one of my favorite B-52 songs. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Melissa Tittle is with us. She's a writer, she's a director, she's a producer, she's a journalist. She gets it done. But what drives her? What got her here? It's going to be a great conversation. Stay right there. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer and UNX Networks. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Hello, Fadernauts. Jimmy Church here. You've seen me with my thunderstorm. Now you can purify the air in your home and get healthy, clean, fresh-smelling air and eliminate odors just like I do right here in the bunker. The Eden Pier Thunderstorm uses oxy technology that naturally sends out O3 molecules into the air, which seek out odors and air pollutants in your home and destroys them. It's called a thunderstorm because it purifies the air just like after a thunderstorm. And right now, you can save $200 on an Eden Pier Thunderstorm 3-pack for whole home protection. With this special offer, you're getting 3 units for under $200. Seriously. Go to EdenPureDeals.com and use Fader3. Shipping is free and it's easy. Just scroll down. You'll see my name right there. Jimmy Church. Click on it and get your deal today. That's EdenPureDeals.com.
Do you have an interest in the paranormal? Then you'll love the UnXNetwork.com. The X is your streaming audio and video for everything supernatural, strange, and mysterious, like UFOs, Bigfoot, ghosts, and so much more. From hosts like Jimmy Church, Whitley Strieber, Micah Hanks, and Christina Gomez. Visit the UnXNetwork.com show page for a complete list of all the paranormal programs you'll find on the X. Be sure to follow us on Twitter for updates at KUNXDB. Follow our Facebook group, UnX Network. Find the podcast on Spotify, iHeart, Audible, and Apple Podcast. It's time. It's new. It's the X.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Manson. You're listening to Jimmy Church
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Melissa Tittle is here. She's here for the first time. We're going to be talking about her career as a director, a producer, creator of film and television for our community and the world. For more than a decade, Melissa has been developing and producing motion pictures and television. Her particular expertise is to create narrative stories around nonfiction subjects. Truth is stranger than fiction. Currently, she is the creative CEO for Hathor Studios. Hathor Studios specializes in films, TV shows, and short-form content for meditation, human potential, aliens, science fiction, and ancient civilization and development over at Gaia TV. She has produced and written TV shows for several major networks, such as Chelsea Does, Escaping the Prophet. That was a great series. Ancient Aliens, The Universe, and, of course, Hangar One with me. She was an assistant to the head of production at Paramount Studios, assigned to such features as Star Trek, Cloverfield, and Mission Impossible 2. She's a member of the Producers Guild of America. She's a member of Women in Film and the International Documentary Association. She graduated with a degree in TV and film from the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point, and her links are below and throughout social media. And I would like to welcome for the first time to Fade to Black, the one and only Melissa Tittle.
I'm finally here.
I mean, seriously, it's a little embarrassing that you haven't been on the show yet. That doesn't make any sense. And I was thinking today, this is weird. We've known each other for a really long time, and we've done a lot of projects. We've done a couple failed projects too, as well.
We tried.
Yeah, we tried, and great ideas. But anyway, I was sitting here thinking, in the last 6 months, Melissa, we have been in Detroit, Miami, the middle of the Mojave Desert, and the Bahamas. It's crazy, isn't it? You just stop and think, where did the time go? And we got all of that done. In about 6 months, 8 months. Yeah. Pretty crazy. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm in my basement because I'm on East Coast time. Everyone's asleep, so I'm locked in the basement with all of you.
You get the first time guest disclaimer, which is very strange to say, but the first time guest disclaimer, Melissa, is it's just you and I sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends, and where the conversation starts, it starts, where it ends, but we're going to end as friends. There you go. All right.
All right.
It feels weird saying that to you as a first time guest, but anyway, you're here. It seems like I just saw you, and I did a few weeks ago. We were in the Bahamas, and we had an amazing time. And I wanted to ask you, was that your first time in the Bahamas?
Yeah, actually, I'd never been to the Bahamas before.
Yeah, me too. And just amazing, right? The people. Wow, man. What and it's right there. It's like a 20-minute flight from Miami, right? You go right, and you land, and you're in another country, completely different than the United States, and it was just a wonderful experience. Had a great time.
Yeah, it was awesome to hang out with Billy Carson for Forbidden Knowledge, and that's his spot. He loves that. He loves the Bahamas, and he wanted to share it with us. And I feel blessed.
Yeah, I can't wait to go back. I'm serious. I didn't want to leave. I had to work. You had to work. We had to. It had to end. I didn't want it to end. I had a few more. I was tired though. I was tired. We did so much, but a break like that because you and I, and Billy, we're all in the middle of productions at the moment. And we were able to just get away. It was a business trip for sure, but just to get away and not be filming, right? not be working, not be editing, and just to go and get away. And it was so much fun.
Yeah, it was a blast.
So I want to jump backwards. I mentioned earlier. You ask some of the best questions, which goes back to even Hangar One, which we shot, a long time ago. And I'll just tell everybody, Melissa was in my ear, but off stage. I didn't see her, and she was running the guidance through this, through shooting. We shot, man, that was a long day too. We shot for like 8 hours.
Oh, that show, yeah.
But you were guiding me and my thought process. And I remember thinking then, it's the same way that I look at you now. Where does this come from? You've got a different way of looking at things and a relentless way of looking at things, and it's very tireless. What happened? Was there something when you were a kid?
What happened?
Yeah.
Did you eat glue or sniff glue? Like, what happened? Why are you so fucking weird? That's basically what you're saying.
I mean, what happened? Was it a crazy uncle, a crazy aunt, your parents?
Now that just sounds like a bad setup for something else. But no, I think I've just always been a weird kid. Like I always, here's the thing. In my family, we talked about a lot of things. We talked about aliens from a young age. My parents taught us about every single religion. There's just so much knowledge to learn all the time. I constantly had questions, and I would meet people who didn't think about those things. And I would ask those questions like, well, haven't you thought of blah, blah, blah? I'm like, one of the things that at our dinner table, if I would bring up an opinion, my dad would say, well, did you read The Other Side? And I said, no, I don't agree with the other side. Well, he's like, well, then you don't have a case and you can't talk about it. So that trained me to really understand all the sides of a certain situation, a story, and ask weird questions, because I left myself out of the equation. I just want to know, how do you feel about it, and where did you get that information from?
Do you have a choice if you because you have a dynamic look and a screen presence? So being a host, and you've got your new series, of course, with Ben Hansen, or do you prefer directing and writing and creating content on the other side of the camera? Which do you prefer?
Oh man, that's a hard one. I have to say, I like directing and writing and producing. I just there's two parts of me. There's an extrovert part of me and there's an introvert part of me, and I love just being deep in the rabbit hole, investigating something, and really being able to kind of pull the strings from the background. But I also enjoy being in front of the camera. But I'd have to say it'd be director, writing, and producing.
Yeah, you've got a presence when you direct, and good things always come from that, from the way that you do. It's also, I think, a desire for perfection, and a director can't go into this with half a vision, right?
No.
You have to have the total vision, and you have to commit to that, and then in the end, it's really good. But if you're half committed or you want to telephone it in, it's going to show up in the production.
Yep. And honestly, I just enjoy that. It just feels like when people talk about meditation or they feel like they've been in contact with something, you talk to athletes who get into some kind of zone. It's like a zone. There's something else happening in that field, in that moment in time, when you're watching people on film talk to each other or whatever's happening. You are creating a new universe, and you drop into that. It's amazing.
Now, I look at you a few different ways in your interest. So let me ask you this: there's deep history. There's things like ancient Egypt and ancient Sumer, ancient civilizations. Of course, things like if you push it way back in Atlantis and where this technology comes from around the world, and then we have the modern stuff today. Megalithic structures around the world that we can look at, and then ET and Contact. Where's your focus on that? Because you've covered just about all of it, and we're going to get into that a little bit deeper in a few minutes. But for you, where does your heart lie?
Where does my heart lie? I definitely think ancient cultures, ancient civilizations, the idea of Atlantis. I think that humans have not learned how to break free of the current cycle. And I think those answers are in the past to create something in the future.
Why do you think it's so difficult to get the mainstream, both in academia, but the mainstream in general, to have an interest in Atlantis and take it seriously?
How should they take it seriously? What was the question?
Yeah, I mean, you can't take a class on Atlantis in school, right?
Not yet.
And right, exactly. I mean, why is that? I remember, I think you were there on a panel I did with Robert Schock 5 or 6 years ago. I know you were there. Robert said, I'm a 10-year professor, and so I don't tend to give a crap anymore. But it's still difficult to say the A word in academia. And he goes, and I'm not talking about aliens. It used to be aliens. Today it's Atlantis. I can't comment on it. And that's a strange thing to come from somebody, from Boston University.
Atlantis is not a civilization that has been found. Atlantis is a mythical story that Plato told. But the thing is, again, if I'm a journalist looking for patterns, why have people been obsessed for thousands of years? After Plato has said this story, that they want to find it. They want to find it at the bottom of the ocean. They want to find remnants of it. They want to somehow connect all these places all over the world as if they were during this time of Atlantis. I think that it's somewhere in our psyche that it existed. I don't think, just like when people ask me, do you really think people are being abducted by aliens? And I'm like, there's always going to be people making stuff up and want to go along on the journey. But there's just thousands of people throughout time who are obsessed with finding Atlantis. There has to be some connection to it. Either our souls are connected to it. There's lots of theories about that. Or we just know that there's something older than what we're being told exists. That seems to be a narrative we keep playing in our head. So there's either so many crazy people out there thinking that, or this is something that's in our psyche and we're trying to figure it out. And I'm exploring the second one because I think that that's a really interesting thing. And I think that people like Graham Hancock and Robert Schock and Robert Duvall and There's tons of other people that have come out and said that they found evidence that the pyramids, some of the other temples, show that they've been there longer than what they think they are. And then does that suggest that that civilization was Atlantis?
And I think one of the greatest, the best evidence to date is Göbekli Tepe. And for a lot of different reasons, but the main one, if we just go to black and white, Melissa, we just go to black and white. Let's just go to the data. It's 7,000 years older than the accepted dating for Mesopotamia in ancient Egypt. And the dogma is that modern civilization started at 3000 BC. Ancient Sumer and Egypt, together, rose up seemingly out of nowhere. But that was the start of everything. There's nothing else earlier than that. Well, Göbekli Tepe, it's not only it's 7,000 years before. And who taught? It's one thing to talk about the knowledge in Giza, in the Giza Plateau, and how that. Yeah, it's a great conversation. But if you back that up 7,000 years, who taught them? And I think that the timing of that is right back to Plato and the survivors of an ancient high-tech civilization were teaching cultures around the world. What other evidence do you want to support this, right?
Right. What's also interesting about Göbekli Tepe, they purposely buried Göbekli Tepe. It wasn't just under the rubble, or over time. They buried it purposely. Why would they bury it? Well, I mean, okay, maybe there's the cataclysm was coming, and that was, they wanted to make sure. But even then, the cataclysm could have been an earthquake.
Yes. Yeah. Let me interrupt because I want you to continue that thought. The knowledge of a cosmic event. How does a civilization 12,000 years ago have the knowledge of something cosmic arriving? How does an ancient civilization that is foraging for seeds in the dirt, wearing animal skins, have knowledge of a flood, have knowledge of impending disaster, have knowledge of the end of the world, whatever it is? How does that happen?
Right. Yeah. I mean, those are all good questions, and nobody really has the answers. There's just a lot of really great educational guesses, but I think that this is the obsession with most of these ancient these ancient locations, these temples, structures that are left behind, where they're monitoring the sky. So it's almost as if they remembered quite some time ago that something had happened, and they want to make sure, and they want to know where they are in the cycle of when things should be happening, when things shouldn't be happening. We hear about this all the time, right? That there's a, just like how we talk about the hero's journey, there's like this idea that we go through that also as a planet, every 26,000 years or something like that, right? We go through all the zodiacs, and they have mapped out specifically within that structure when we might have an end to the current structure of humanity and when we start over. And that's talked about across the world. That's not just one ancient civilization. So I think that knowledge is passed down, and then they keep searching for it. And then I think people just forget why they are connected to something, right? What happens is people forget why they're doing things. We do this all the time in our culture. And then they just do pieces of it. They just do pieces of it, and then they pass that down, and then no one really knows where the root of it came from, and they're just spouting off this one piece. And that's why I feel like there's so many researchers out there trying to put all the pieces together and figure out, wait, what is the original story?
Yeah, right. Here's the rub for me. I'm saying this as fact. There are collections out there in the world, and you can say the Vatican, private hands, museums, governments, state actors, what have you. The Knights Templar and the Freemasons. that are in possession of ancient texts that tell the story, right? And that's it. But that stuff is never going to get to the surface because it changes history too much, and I think that they are very well aware of a lot of things, but they're not talking about it. Look at the Mayans. When Spain arrived, they did everything that they could to destroy the written record, right? 4 codexes, 4 survived. Some say there's a 5th one, right? And they're in different parts of the world. That's it. Is that the facts? Only 4 codexes survived, or was there more? And that goes to Alexandria, right? How much of that actually survived? Maybe all of it. The story is none of it is there. And we can go through every culture and say the same.
The Vatican. You remember, like, they destroyed those codexes because they found evidence that these savage people had a similar creation story to their Adam and Eve in the garden and all that kind of stuff, but a little bit different. Characters are a little bit different, but the story was the same, and they couldn't imagine that this savage group of people would have some kind of godlike interaction and Adam and Eve in the same garden, the story of the Bible. They just couldn't. They can handle that, so they had to make sure they destroyed it and kept them at a level of suppression, so that they were the only ones that could be, carrying the understanding of God.
When we talk about the procession and 26,000 years and the way that the Mayan calendar worked, and other cultures, it wasn't just the Mayans, of course, but to know about a wobble that is 26,000, when we have to put all of that into context. Cleopatra, Jesus, right? Jesus, right? If we just go with year 0, that's only 2,000 years. And we've only had 300 years of real science, right? Maybe 400, Newton and Copernicus. That's it. But somehow these ancient cultures had knowledge of a wobble of the earth and a 26,000 year cycle. How the only way is if that knowledge was handed down. They didn't learn it from the beginning of the 26,000 year cycle, looking at, fractions of a degree. No, they were taught that, weren't they? There had to have been a culture that was here before.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think a lot of people sit and they stare at the stars and they think, okay, if they did figure it out from this perspective, laying on their back, looking at the stars, they had no other perspective. It's really hard for scientists to figure out how they did that. How did they map this all out? It's definitely possible, but it's almost like if that was the case, that was their only goal. There was nothing else anyone was doing except for constantly mapping out the sky,
generation after generation,
and you have to think. I mean, I get it. We want to know where we are in the universe, but then again, why?
Could you imagine if you follow what anthropologists will try to convince you? Well, man, it's simple. They put a stick in the dirt and they measured the shadow and aligned it to the star. And they did that all day long, every day for thousands of years. It's like, what they did? What? How did they do it? Are you sure you're believing what you're saying? But there had to have been something else, something much more advanced. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it came from space. I don't know if it was a culture that was here on Earth, but you don't just put a stick in the dirt and chalking off the movement of a shadow and the alignment of the stars every single day for generations. And then, Melissa, then you got to teach your grandson, okay, this is what you're going to do. Every day you wake up and you mark the dirt. Every day. And then you're going to teach your grandson how to do it.
And then the grandson was like, you know what? I think I'm going to build some stones. I think I'm going to have the stones there already so that I don't have to get up early in the morning or late at night and mark it.
It just doesn't work for me. There had to have been something else. Now, and here's the other thing. When we go back and contemplate, something like Atlantis or a high-tech civilization, what about the Sumerian and the Anunnaki E.T. Sitchin version of all of this? Where do you stand?
I think there's definitely some truth to what Sitchin is saying. I think there's lots of different understandings of a planet blowing up or something happening. And then you definitely have the meteor belt between Mars and Jupiter. Could that have happened? Possibly. I think that what the Anunnaki does is it gets into aliens really fast. This is also another A word that if you are a archaeologist or anthropologist and you're in this field and you're trying to decipher these cuneiforms, say, I think that you get into a dangerous territory when you start deciphering them and you're like, okay, but now are we talking about off planet or are we talking about a faraway land in the mountains that they came down from, right? So I think that the Anunnaki, just like the word Atlantis, gets into that category of like things that we can't prove, but that could be true. Right? Like the Anunnaki history of the universe is very similar in a way to Star Wars, right? We have this kind of a matriarchal powerhouse and we have this male powerhouse and there's a big fight and then the world's divided and blood spilled and planets blow up and all sorts of stuff, right?
It's the hero's journey, right? That's Joseph Campbell right there in Sumerian tablets. 200,000 years ago. Let's take our break right here. Let's get that in. Our guest tonight is Melissa Tittle, writer, producer, director. What else? What do you want me to add to that? Journalist,
podcaster, Cosmic Cantina, host.
We'll be right back after this short break. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, VX.
Hello, Fadernauts. Jimmy Church here. You've seen me with my thunderstorm. Now you can purify the air in your home and get healthy, clean, fresh-smelling air and eliminate odors just like I do right here in the bunker. The Eden Pure Thunderstorm uses oxy technology that naturally sends out O3 molecules into the air, which seek out odors and air pollutants in your home and destroys them. It's called a thunderstorm because it purifies the air just like after a thunderstorm. And right now, you can save $200 on an Eden Pure Thunderstorm 3-pack for whole home protection. With this special offer, you're getting 3 units for under $200. Seriously. Go to EdenPureDeals.com and use Fader3. Shipping is free and it's easy. Just scroll down. You'll see my name right there, Jimmy Church. Click on it and get your deal today. That's EdenPureDeals.com.
This is Billy Carson, founder and CEO of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv is the fastest growing and one of the most watched networks in the world. And I would like to personally invite you to check out our expanding library of TV, film, lectures, and special presentations. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv has over 6,000 videos covering lost history, health, UFOs, spirituality, and our future. We are committed to our community, and with my personal invitation, you can, right now, get your own free 30-day membership at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Your own library of information starts today at forbiddenknowledge.tv.
Because you never got that pony you always wanted. Damn it. Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network. Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer, Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And I'm Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. And you're listening to Jimmy Church. The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Melissa Tittle, writer, producer, director, and host. Here's the thing, Melissa. We were just talking before the break, about ancient cultures and things, and Race Hobbs jumped into the chat room and said this. He says, you have to add context. They had time to do all of this very important work. Even if you believe some other civilization told them how to do it, someone had to do the work first. And I think that that's a very, very important point. But my answer to that comment, and I want yours, is that you can't. The problem that I have with ancient Egypt, putting Göbekli Tepe off to the side, the problem that I have with ancient Egypt is that Egyptologists want us to believe that nomadic tribes in the desert went from living in the desert wearing animal skins to 3000 BC and immediately developing writing, roads, geometry, engineering, science, math, law, organization, crops, agriculture, all at the same time. And then over the next 200 years, our country is 200 years old, the United States, right? Over the next 200 years, they went from animal skins to building the Great Pyramid. And not only that, they built 3 pyramids at the Giza Plateau and another 45 pyramids in the same 100-year span. Right now, wait a minute. What was the population of Egypt at that time? And Race's comment, which is you had to have people to do the work first, right? You had to have people. What was the population of ancient Egypt at 3000 BC, right? A few 100,000 people. So every single person in the country was building pyramids. Who was doing everything else, right? And that's the important thing that we have to take a look at here. How did that happen? It just doesn't make any sense, does it?
Mm-mm. No, it doesn't make any sense. And it's also the whole, like, I mean, you think of it this way. I'm not saying that I definitely believe this is happening, but a lot of people come on and talk about the secret space program. There is something to say about that. Not that I'm definitely saying that I believe in it, but I am saying that we went from this kind of technology, shooting somebody up in the moon in a tin can, and then we kind of progressed further, but not that much, considering what we did and where we should be right now, right? So that's where that whole concept comes in of like, well, we're making oxygen on Mars as of last week, but could that have been happening a long time ago, considering we went through this huge space race and then we kind of pulled back? Could there be something happening? It's the same kind of thing when you think about ancient Egypt and you think, you're right, it just kind of, I would say more, not so much ancient Egypt as I would say ancient Sumer, just kind of popped up overnight. And of course, what they talked about in their stories is, some gods came down and they said, this is agriculture. This is how it works. Here's your civilization. Here's your political system and your religious system. We're just going to install it now, and you're going to live your life.
When we consider these things and these ideas, we're taught, it's almost hypocritical. We're taught two different things. One, that this just happened overnight, and then when that argument or that point starts to get debated, then the answer to that from the establishment is you're not giving ancient man enough credit. Well, wait a minute. That's not an answer. You're just making a statement. Where are the facts to back up a statement like that? Because Göbekli Tepe was 7,000 years before. And now what kind of credit do we need to give ancient man for something like that? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. I mean, I produced the first 5 seasons of Ancient Aliens. You don't have to talk about aliens at all. You can leave that conversation out, and you can still be dumbfounded on what they've accomplished and what they knew about the universe. So I think that's what it happens. People are like, no. It's not these beings coming down. It's completely just, you have to give them credit. Okay, I'm giving them credit. I'm saying this still doesn't make sense.
Right. That's exactly right. And then if we move forward to today, because you've been at this for such a long time, did you expect the revelations to happen with things like UFO turning into UAP from an official context coming out of Washington, D.C., and everything that has happened over the last 3 or 4 years? Did you expect these kind of developments? We all hope for them, but did you think that this was really going to happen?
Nope, I didn't. And I didn't trust it when it came out. And I think a lot of people felt that way. They're like, okay, well, what's the agenda? And I don't know if we really know what the agenda is, right? I mean, I do a lot of shows about this, right? What's the agenda of the aliens? If there's aliens, what are their agenda? Are they here to help us? They here to kill us? Like what's going on? What's the government's agenda by announcing it finally that, hey, I think we have decided they're aliens? I think that what I think might be happening, and I'm totally jumping the shark because I don't usually do this. I usually try to stay in the neutral ground because I don't want to put myself into an opinion that I have to hold up later. But considering the government and the media are really, the government keeps dropping. Okay, wait, we think this is more real than we thought it is, right? Like every week there's something new. It's like building up. And I think that The only reason why they would do that is possibly to fund Space Force, right? To create this agenda around something that they want to build, or something is about to happen. They don't know when, but they need to prepare the public. And that I didn't think that would happen in my lifetime, but I think maybe in my lifetime we might have some kind of contact.
It could be a little bit of both. It could be a little bit of both. When they started to talk about fear, and I'm talking about 4 years ago, 3 years ago, that this is, our military needs to be protected. The men and women of the military are being threatened by this, and just with impunity invading our airspace and our training exercises and the threat to the military. And I thought this threat narrative, well, that plays into funding Space Force, right? Okay, I get that part of it. And then there's the other side that seems to be a drip, right? Getting everybody acclimated to some type of contact. So I think it could be a little bit of both.
Yeah. No, I agree. But I wasn't expecting the amount of attention focused. Now they have official title UAP, like this. Like it's a real. It's really happening instead of just a bunch of people behind the scenes getting together and saying, we want answers, we want disclosure. Now it's like a whole conversation happening in Washington for real.
When it's so funny how times change. But if you look back to like the team that was put together for Hangar One, for example, there was plenty of stuff going on at the same time. You just mentioned, of course, your work with Ancient Aliens, but but we were on our own, right? This was our mission, and we were trying to do this, and so many others. I'm talking about our community, right? And pushing this forward, and we were left to our own research, and we weren't supported. And then suddenly, 3-4 years later, boom, it's a whole different thing. Should we trust the government right now? Is the government our UFO buddy?
I mean, I don't know if the space bros are your buddy either. I mean, there's like a whole weirdness happening with the whole UFO stuff. You know what I mean? It's like people are just glamming onto whatever's popular. But I think I did a talk at Roswell about this, and that is about agendas. Because the question is, okay, like you said, is government, should we trust them? Are aliens real? Like these are really polarizing questions. But I always think like, well, what's the agenda of everyone involved in the alien conversation? And not that I have the answer, but I would say I wouldn't really trust anybody. Everybody's got a little agenda in this whole game of something that doesn't exist. And you know what? Religion started off the same way. Somebody was able to talk to something that you couldn't see, and people got excited about that because it expands the human potential, the human experience, and they want to be around that, right? So this whole idea of being in touch with something interdimensionally has been a game for a long time. And you have to think of, all right, who's the one, what agenda does the person have that has all the contacts and doing all the things? The other end of the spectrum is, I do think something for thousands of years have been happening to humans, and they have been in touch with something. I mean, that's on cave walls from 40,000 years ago. So I think that there's two things happening. There are experiences happening. Who you can trust. I wouldn't trust anyone. I would do your own homework. I'd find your own patterns. And I mean, doesn't Buddha have a saying? Don't believe anyone, even if it comes from me, unless you believe it. I mean, I think that's the way to look at the whole field.
Yeah,
is that don't say, okay, you're wrong, or this person is definitely telling the truth. I think step back and figure out what would the agenda be if that person was telling the truth, and then go from there.
Before we move on, do you believe that our military and our government is tracking with satellites objects in space, and they know exactly what is going on as you and I talk right now, that this is something that they've been aware of for a long time. They're not telling us that, but we've got too much technology in orbit, and pointing in the other direction and monitoring. Do you think that they know exactly what's happening?
Exactly. I don't think exactly they know what's happening. I don't think so. And you remember the government, that's like 5 people, right? That might know exactly what's happening. The rest of the people are working in the government. They're part of the military complex. I mean, I don't think there's only a couple people that have knowledge to what we're talking about. But I still think that although they know probably way more than we do, I don't think they know exactly what to do and what it is. And that's where the threat narrative comes in play. And
go ahead.
Oh, and I was just going to say that, one of the things that I'm passionate about is that I think that the conversation of aliens, of the existence of something else more powerful than us, actually allows our human existence to grow, to figure out what it means to be human. I mean, we have a lot of problems here on Earth. It doesn't matter what country you belong to. There's lots of infighting. There's lots of political upheaval, belief systems, the list goes on, right? But something out there creates awareness of what it means to be actually human. And I think that's a very important conversation to have. And I think the more that this becomes a thing where people are like, oh, wait, this might really happen, we might be making contact, I think we're actually going to see a shift in humanity.
Have you had your own sighting?
You know what? I haven't. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is crazy. And now,
maybe I'm an alien.
Yeah.
What's my agenda?
Some people say, but would that change things for you? I mean, would it push things further?
I think so. Definitely. I'm already in it though.
That's what I'm saying. How much further can you go?
I feel like I might have the experience that people have when they have an experience. They're amazed, they're enlightened, but then they're sort of terrified. All the things that I've interviewed people about, and they walk me through what it feels like in the process and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think, I feel like the reason I haven't is because I already know or feel in my soul that they are real, that there are interdimensional beings and they are in contact with us, and there's some good ones and there's some bad ones. And I think I'm on point for what my mission's supposed to be, which is to just get the data out there and the patterns and have people talk about it. It's not for me to find the truth, because I don't believe there is one truth. There's just all these pieces of truths that we put together to figure out what the story is.
We missed an opportunity. We can't turn back time, but you and I were just in the middle of the Mojave Desert at a completely haunted location, by the way. So
for sure. I lost my voice. Yep.
Yes.
That was trippy, by the way. Oh, wait, can I interrupt for a second? So we're in the middle of the desert, and we're filming something we can't talk about, and top secret. I lose my voice the day I get into this location. Like literally gone. Never happened to me before. I'm telling Jimmy. He says, "Oh, just Jolly Ranchers," and I'm like,
"I did.
Dude, I can't. There's just air coming out of my mouth. Like it doesn't even hurt. It's just gone, right?" And that's all it was. And then the minute I left that location, like literally drove away out of town, I got my voice back. So there's something.
It was the Jolly Ranchers. No, the
Jolly Ranchers should have worked the day of.
the day of. What an amazing location. But here's the thing. We missed an opportunity. Oh, by the way, so this is the deal. So I show up on location, and we shot drone footage of me driving my Jeep, and it's a pretty big set, a pretty pretty cool production that you had going on out there. Anyway, so we had all this stuff going on, and I walk in, I'm doing a live stream or doing something, and I go, "There's Melissa." She turns around and goes, "I lost my voice." I was like, "Oh, whoa!" So how are we going to do this? And so there you go. You had to. So when this comes out, everybody, it's all dubbed. It's all dubbed.
I'm gonna have a man speak my voice. It's gonna be like one of those old Asian films.
Hey, that's a great idea. I do your voice.
Oh my god!
I do your voice, and I'll talk to myself. I think that's a great idea. But here's the opportunity.
So crazy. That was so crazy. I felt like something was choking. They like did not want me to speak in that one location. It was so weird, and it was such a beautiful location.
Amazing. Something like that in the middle of the desert where you could stand there, because there were buildings and stuff that was there. But anyway, stand in the middle of it and just look around and see nothing.
But
nothing. It was so cool.
But just abandoned buildings.
Yeah, just in the middle of the desert. So here's the thing. This is what we missed, though. We should have just brought out the night vision, set up chairs, and crank that thing till 1 a.m. You would have seen something. Everybody. And we had all the cameras.
Yeah.
We missed it. We
should have. I feel like whatever was there did not want me there. So I was happy to be leaving.
Okay. All right. I'm going to get back to the subject, but this is what I tripped on. Okay. So we were like a couple of miles off the main road, right? Okay. In the middle of the desert. But between the set location and the main road, there was that mobile home that was like from the 1950s. It was pretty nice. You remember it was like turquoise and white stripes way off out there. It looked pretty nice, a little oasis. But you drive by that and it's way out there, right? In the cactus. Who lives there? That's what I just thought that's just bizarre. And it looks really nice. But who lives there? You're not ordering a pizza.
Yeah, it's very like hipster paradise or something.
Yeah. It was actually pretty nice. But again, in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, we missed that opportunity. Okay, so I wanted to, and we're going to talk about this more after the break. I want to talk about the Nazca mummies for a minute. And the Nazca mummies, when that blew up and took off, it has been 3 years now, probably 3 years.
It's been almost 4 years because I think it was 2018.
Yeah, 2018. Mm-hmm. And now I want everybody to understand, Melissa flew down to Peru, and you got to see the Nazca mummies up close and personal. When you arrived there, and I remember the video of you standing in the examination room or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. What went through your mind?
Well, I think like everybody who saw those pictures and the video, I wasn't the first person to go down there. I was the second. So I thought, God, this looks so fake. I mean, it was like white powder on it. I'm like, oh man, this is like paper mache,
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I thought when I was on my way there. So now I'm in the examination room. They bring out the bigger body, which is Maria.
Right.
And everyone had like gloves and masks and stuff like that. I asked if I could touch it, with the gloves on, of course. And it felt like skin. It was actual dried, jerky skin. And I was like, oh. But even when I saw it, like when I'm in looking at it, I'm still thinking there has to be something about this thing that's fake. Because it's just, I mean, the torso and everything looks human. but the head's slightly bigger. The eye sockets are much bigger. There's 3 fingers and 3 toes.
Three
Yeah,
fingers,
exactly.
yeah.
And they're huge, right?
They're like this long,
yeah.
yeah.
And the phalanges in our bones are very small. If you were to take an x-ray of your hand, they're very small. These are huge bones, which means that, wrapped around with skin and muscle and everything, they would just have been massive. So, but then when I touched it, that's when I was like, okay, there's definitely something going on with these bodies. Like I have to try to stay neutral and be part of the investigation. But that was the moment when I'm like, okay, there's something biological about this body for sure. And it was just fascinating. And I think that one of the things that Gaia really wanted to do was they wanted to make sure that we took samples from all parts of the body, hands and feet, the back of the neck, the back of the torso, the bottom part has a little bit more meat, right?
Mm-hmm.
The head, there wasn't a lot there, but up by the neck and stuff, and then compare all that data to see if it was a genetic match. Because of course people are saying, well, they just put a fake hand on. They put some bones together and made a fake hand to make it 3 digits, but that's not what it looked like. And then when I brought them back to have a radiologist in Denver, just randomly called up this woman. I said, hey, I have a bunch of weird x-rays. Would you take a look at them? She has no idea what I'm talking about. I'm not going in there saying I went to Peru and I possibly might have seen an alien body. I didn't tell her that at all. I just brought in the weird x-rays. And she just looked at me and said, what is this? And I said, well, you tell me. I mean, is it real? Is it like fake? And she said, no, everything in this x-ray is real biological material based on the hue of the bones that come through the x-ray, right? She can tell right away if it's fake, it's synthetic, it has like a certain hue to it.
Sure.
These are all biological. I said, okay. And I'm like, there's 3 fingers and 3 toes. She's like, I know. And I said, do you think someone just cut off the other fingers or anything? She's
okay. Stop right there. I got to take a break. This story is amazing. So let's just stop right there. Stop. Pump the brakes. Our guest tonight, Melissa Tittle. And yes, she flew down to Peru and she was right there in the middle of the investigation of the Nazca mummies. We'll continue this after this short break. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Stay right there.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
The Believer is the chilling true story of Dr. John Mack, a renowned Harvard psychiatrist and Pulitzer Prize winner.
This is an outreach program from the cosmos to the consciously impaired.
He risked it all to investigate human encounters with aliens. The Believer, Alien Encounters, Hard Science, and the Passion of John Mack. Written by award-winning former New York Times journalist and author Ralph Blumenthal. Now available in paperback from High Road Books.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from River Moon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic. All River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com. Do you want to be an official Fade or Not? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. Fade or Nots. When you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA.
Hi, I'm Ray Sobbs, and I'm here to tell you about something I really think you're going to like. The UNX Network is a part of a larger group called UNX Media, and one of the things we offer is the quarterly UNX magazine, which is available both in print and digital formats. This amazing magazine covers all aspects of the unexplained and makes for a great coffee table periodical that is certain to spark enlightening conversations in your living rooms. We invite you to check out the latest digital issue for free. Just go to unxnetwork.com/membership and fill out your free membership with your name and email and become a new free member. The new summer issue is now available, and the theme is Time Anomalies, which includes a feature article written by our managing editor, Lee Spiegel. Just go to unxnetwork.com/memberships. That's unxnetwork.com/memberships and get your free e-copy of the UNX magazine today.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Melissa Tittle is with us. We've got a lot of projects that we are working on, and we'll keep everybody posted. Yeah. I know what it's like, can't talk about it. Well, you know, that's just the way that it is, and I enjoy that part of it. I really do. It's mystery is half of the sale. That's the way that I always look at things. We will announce everything very soon with the different things that we're working on. People want to know, but we've got to get it done first. Now, back to the Nazca mummies. When the radiologist, I mean, the first thing, this is what you were touching upon, a little recap before the break, is the three fingers. And a radiologist is looking at, broken bones, things all day long. They're looking at anatomy. They understand it immediately when they see it. So the question that I always had from the beginning, and I remember her input on this, so I was so fascinated, is that if you're going to look at three fingers, they're going to know right away what is going on, three toes. And what was her reaction to that?
Immediately she went into looking at it and analyzing it right away. And I say this because then I'll tell you what she said next. But what she first said was, there's no marks on the bone. There's no other place where another digit grew and got cut off. You would see that. There's no, all these bones are connected. They can't be connected this way if they were fake. And I've already told you they're biological. So basically what she was saying is, I have this hair flying away. Basically what she was saying is that that they're real. And not only are they real, but they were not altered. And these are the original bones of this person, creature, whatever it is. And this is how they would have grown together if they naturally would have been on a creature or a person without any.
I feel like I'm interrupting you, but there was one point that I tracked. I followed this. Is that okay? You have the three fingers, but then you have what is in the hand, and then how they join to the wrist, and the natural growth for that, and the wrist area. To me, if this was, somebody, some taxidermist, whatever you want to call it, sitting there suturing this stuff together and crazy glue and hot wax or whatever, the process is. We'll get to the skin part in a minute, but this has to be natural. You can't put three fingers on a 4-finger wrist, right?
Right. I mean, it was all like all the bones were completely, I knew that anyway. I was looking at them and I'm like, there isn't any marks. There's no, this looks like a natural hand for this creature. So, but when she confirmed that, I was like, whoa. And then she's like, okay, well, I mean, maybe this person's deformed and maybe because, she couldn't wrap the way that, because her thing was the phalanges were so big. Like I was saying before, like ours are very small. So she was like, this would have been like a massive finger or, and then a hand. And then she got into, well, how would they walk? How would they function with these really long fingers and toes? But you could tell at some point she pulled back because she's like, okay, I don't know what I'm looking at and I need more context. But
was there a thumb or was it just three fingers?
Just three fingers.
Yeah, there was no like fourth digit. It was just three going into the wrist.
Right.
Yeah, that's great. Okay. And the next part, as you're looking at this, and I realized there was white powder covering everything, but if you are going to build something like this, right? You're going to hoax this, you're going to manufacture this. How do you cover it in skin without having seams? Right?
Okay, so hold on a second. Because this never got aired on Gaia because, I don't know, they wanted to put out some 11-minute thing they called a trailer or teaser, and nothing that is 11 minutes is a teaser. But anyway, what did not get aired is that I called of all the people when we put this 11-minute teaser out, I called I put together all the hoaxes. People said, oh, that it's plaster of Paris, right? Or it's somebody melted a bunch of skin together and coated it and made this skin covering. What was some of the other ones? Yeah, that they put the animal bones and stuff together, blah, blah, blah. So I called a taxidermist and I said, would it be, because one of the hoaxes was, even if they said, oh, they could just take animal skins and melt it together and cover this body. So I called this taxidermist and I asked this question: is that possible? Could people actually do that? And the guy like literally thought I was Hannibal Lecter. He was like, what? He's like, you can't do that. You can't just boil skin together and somehow make this skin that's made up of other animal skin and then put it over. I'm like, I didn't think so, but you know, if anyone's going to know, you would.
Did you, I'm putting yourself in my shoes, right? I would have looked. Did you see anything that looked joined? I'm talking about the skin, you know, around the hands. Did you see anything that stood out that suggested that this was skin that was placed on this and not grown?
No, I mean, it can't be placed. It's on the body. You got to scrape it off. It's not even like sitting there on the top and you're like, oh, there's a piece of skin. It's so dried on the bone. Because remember, we're in Peru, so this is a great place to preserve anything.
Right.
You just scrape it off, like the tiny fibers that are left. Like this isn't something you can sew on or just like throw it into the mix and be like, here's some skin. You know, this is like on the body. It's a whole process to get it off the body from what's actually left from, you know, however old it is.
And what about muscle tissue, ligaments? Was any of that still? Well, it looked pretty. What's the word I want to use? Complete.
Yeah, if we're talking about Maria, who's the larger one, her rectum was missing. That could have been eaten by an animal at some point after she had already died. But all of her organs were intact. So most of the burials that they find in Peru, they are missing those internal organs. So these organs are all intact. We did CAT scans, very detailed, that you could see some muscle fiber. We only took samples off the body. We did not chop inside the body, but obviously the high res scans, you could see all of this very intricately.
There was a number of mummies that were produced that were X-rayed and CAT scanned, different sizes, different types, but all looked. What's an alien, right? I don't know, but they didn't look like us. And some of them reminded me of, don't laugh, but of E.T., right?
The small ones?
Yeah, the small ones. A completely different skull and body on that. And to suggest E.T., I don't want to sound so naive, but I immediately went there. But a lot of people surfaced saying that they were the hoaxers. They were the ones that constructed these, and they had the metal. I don't even know what you would call it, but there were metal parts that were.
Like plates, and there's like a chest plate and a small one or whatever.
Yes.
So this is how. First of all, this is how government conspiracies get created, and this is how real things get muddled into like hoaxes and fake stuff all the time, right? So the person who came out and said that they had created the bodies were fighting with the people that had the bodies because they were kind of cut out of the loop. So they came on and did some press conference with some hand that didn't look anything like, except for it had 3 fingers, didn't look anything like the hands that were on Maria that I've been talking about. And the smaller creatures also had 3 fingers and 3 toes. it definitely looked manufactured. And if you actually did a comparison between the x-rays, the CAT scans, and the actual physical photos of Maria versus what this guy was bringing to the table, it doesn't even look similar at all.
Back then, and I know that you remember all of this, I did a lot of stuff on Coast to Coast. I did a lot of stuff on Fade to Black about this. And suddenly I'm getting information out of Peru from different people saying that they were involved in this, in the hoax. And when I looked at the evidence that was sent to me and the other stuff that was out there, it looked like two different situations. What I found fascinating, like I didn't make the connection. I depend on my eyes, Melissa. Right? Okay. But the other part to this is it all went away. The hoaxers disappeared. Right? The things, the evidence, the stuff that was coming, all of it simmered down. Mm-hmm. And if it was a hoax, it's the biggest hoax of the century. Why isn't that elevated? If it's real, why isn't it also, the biggest discovery in the human race? Why isn't this the biggest story ever told? It's like, why did it die down?
I don't even know. I think, we tried to put together, we didn't try. We put together a documentary, kind of getting a little bit more into the journey of the story and how it all came together. But I think that it just needed to be followed up with. But they took the bodies and they went to a university. We don't really have any jurisdiction if that's what they want to do. And the university, their thing was that they wanted to continue the studies and take care of the bodies and preserve them and make sure that they had proper. But I haven't heard anything. It's just like dead air. And you're right. It's very sad. You're right. It's very strange that it literally just died, like completely died.
Both sides of the literally died. They were mummified. Both sides of the story, right? If it's a hoax, it's a huge story. If it's real, it's a huge story. Either one, but they both went away, and it doesn't make any sense to me. And and you were right in the middle of all of it. Now, what about DNA testing? And I know I don't know if you can speak about any of this and if there's legal things involved. But removing stuff from Peru like that, I mean, is it legal? Can you take parts of a mummy out of the country without government approval, or did you have to have? I don't know. I'm asking you. And what were the results of that DNA testing?
All right. So your first question, no comment. And number two, DNA testing. So the DNA testing took about a year, which is, that's about, what happens in DNA testing is that they have to run it through many, many sessions in the machine and they have to ask the right question. And usually when people are doing DNA testing, they have a full body to work on. Obviously, they have small samples to work on. So they have to be very choosy with their questions. And, that one of the things that we wanted to know, does this DNA have any match to any human DNA on the planet currently? And that came up, no. So the next question that would have happened if the DNA testing would continue would be, are there genomes that haven't been completely mapped yet that this could be part of? So what did come back, and this gets a little confusing, is that 20% of the DNA came back as human, but not matching the current DNA on the planet, human DNA on the planet as of now. There was no animal DNA. So that kind of rules out the idea that we're dealing with some kind of manufactured animal situation. But what that says is, what is this thing? it somehow has some kind of human DNA in it somehow, but it's not really connected to the current DNA that we have on this planet. But that's only 20%. So what's the other 80%? And of course, if you talk to somebody who does this for a living, they'll say, well, we run many tests and we make sure that we ask the same question over and over again, just to make sure that the bacteria count didn't get in the way of our sequencing. But we had a significant amount to do that, just to ask that question, and we still came up with this answer. And remember, we had labs in Canada, we had labs in Mexico, we had labs in Russia. So everyone came up with the same results, which is fascinating.
Did the different and I like the spread on the different laboratories, right? You're going with different countries, different points of view, looking at this and looking at the results of the testing. Did these three laboratories communicate with each other, or were they just completely going at this blind and independent?
Completely independent. One thing that I've noticed in the scientific community, just interviewing scientists and different universities and institutions and that kind of thing, is that they don't actually want to mix their data anyway, right? If they're literally taking the time to investigate something, they want to completely own it. They don't want to. It's just like being a judge for a case, and you're on social media looking at what everybody else is talking about. You want to be completely objective. You don't want to get into the storyline. You don't want to talk to the journalists. You want to go in there. You want to do your job, and you want to give them the data, and you want to sit and think about it, but you just don't want to be influenced. And you definitely don't want to be talking to other scientists about it until you've really figured out from your lab what's happening.
Right. And did each of the three independent testing laboratories, did they have the multiple samples, back of the neck, a different part? Were they testing 4 or 5 different sections of the body?
Yes. So that question was basically, do all these pieces of the body belong to one genetic code?
That's my next question. Yeah. Right. Okay.
And that came back yes. So
it wasn't Hannibal Lecter, right? Well, in that, chicken bone, cow skin, horse hide, monkey bone, human bone, all showing up in these different samples. No, all of the samples that were sent were from the same person,
being, creature, whatever it is. Yes, definitely.
Wow, that's interesting. If you unfolded Maria, how tall would she have been?
5'7", I think. Can't remember. She's either 5'7" or 5'8".
And 2 feet of that are fingers and toes.
Exactly.
I mean, they were this long, right? They were and how many bones? Okay,
on her planet, instead of saying she's all torso, they're like she's all fingers.
She's all fingers, right. So we have 3 bones in our finger, right? Didn't she have like 4 or 5?
No, she had 4, so that's how long they were. But remember, they're huge. Like right now, we look at our hands and we're like, okay, well, but you're looking at muscle and skin and stuff. Like if we were just looking at the bone, they were just massive. Just the very thick, huge. So I would say, if I was to say how long was her hand, her hand was almost 24 inches.
God, that's nuts. Yeah. Now, what did you have? Did you go to the actual site where the tomb was?
No, I did not. Konstantin did, who was part of the Russian team, and Jaime Maussan went.
And what was left? Well, I mean, what did they see?
Here's the thing. I don't know if that was the right cave. It looked, it had the same diatomaceous earth look to it, but I don't know if that was the right cave. I mean, remember, again, let's go back to the agenda conversation. Mm-hmm. Something is very weird that's happening. A lot of people agree and are trying to scientifically prove that whatever those things are what we think that they are, or not, right? but the people involved can be a little sketchy. So I'm not really sure if that cave was actually the cave that they found. But one thing that did not make the documentary that I thought was really interesting about the diatomaceous earth is that diatomaceous earth is everywhere, right? You can go to Home Depot and buy diatomaceous earth. People drink diatomaceous earth as some kind of health benefit. So the thought process was, well, it's just covered in diatomaceous earth. They probably bought it and covered it and all that kind of stuff. But we took samples of the diatomaceous earth several times to check, and I sent it to a lab to get tested. I got a mineral and content report of what was in that diatomaceous earth. Now remember, depending on what the diatomaceous earth is made out of, besides dead plankton basically, and minerals from whatever rock it disintegrated from and all that kind of stuff, it will be different. So I went on this journey to have somebody read this because that's not my expertise. I can see that this is interesting, but can someone explain this to me? I found a professor at the University of Arizona who doesn't want to be named and does not want to be on camera. He looked at the report, and without knowing what my story was about, I didn't call him and say, hey, I found a dead body in Peru and it has 3 fingers. I said, could you look at this? This diatomaceous earth came from someplace in South America, and we wanted to know if you can tell by the mineral content where it came from. Plain dumb, right? He specifically pinpointed Ica, where apparently they found the bodies of where this diatomaceous earth came from based on the mineral composition. So my thought process was, so then I said, well, okay, let me give you a little backstory. So we found these bodies and they're covered in diatomaceous earth. Would it be possible that they would be on the body this thick after all this time? And he said, yes, this is how they preserve. This is how lots of things get preserved by diatomaceous earth based on the mineral content of this area. There's no other place in the world that has that mineral content of diatomaceous earth except that area. And I just thought that was pretty fascinating considering he's not really part of the case. And, maybe that means that that's where they actually came from. Unless they just took a bunch of diatomaceous earth from the cave and threw it at this thing. But without this guy knowing, he's kind of pinpointing exactly where they said they found the bodies.
And the other, you just said bodies, plural. The little guys.
The little, yeah. There's the big area in the
same area, right?
Yeah, same area.
Whew, man, okay, let's take a break. Man, it says you know what I don't get? I've got to get this break in 15 seconds.
Okay.
It would seem to me that tourism at Nazca is a big deal, and tourism for Peru is a big deal. Mm-hmm. And this should be something that the Ministry of Tourism, whatever you want to call it in Peru, would be shouting from the rooftops about. And wow, right? People go to Giza all year long. People go to Machu Picchu, right, all year long. And this would just elevate. And something is squashing this story. Something, and it may not be Peru. It might be more external than that. And that's just my take. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Melissa Tittle is with us. Melissa, stay right there. We will be right back after this short break. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Stay there.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal God, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, VX.
The Believer is the chilling true story of Dr. John Mack, a renowned Harvard psychiatrist and Pulitzer Prize winner.
This is an outreach program from the cosmos to the consciously impaired.
He risked it all to investigate human encounters with aliens. The Believer, Alien Encounters, Hard Science, and the Passion of John Mack. Written by award-winning former New York Times journalist and author Ralph Blumenthal. now available in paperback from High Road Books.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? Unex Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNXDB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from Rivermoon. Just click on the Rivermoon Coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B Blend for 15% off of your order today.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Melissa Tittle is with us. Talking about the Nazca mummies, I've got a couple of follow-up questions, and then we're going to move on. But I wanted to share something with everybody, Melissa. Leading up to the Bahamas, I was so excited about swimming with the dolphins. And I talked about it every night. I can't wait. You and I swam with the dolphins together.
We did.
Was that insane? Was that seriously? Was that like the coolest bucket list thing ever?
That was pretty rad. I mean, they're just like big sea dogs, right?
Sea people. Yeah. I mean, crazy. That was just, I mean, it's serious. You remember when I forget our dolphin's name, and we got to swim in this natural environment too as well. It wasn't like a pool; it was this cove thing. Yeah. And but when she swam up to us and rolled over, and we got to
pet her belly.
I mean, right? I mean, that was
so cute.
That was so. Now, and one last thing, I wanted to make this comment. You and I were standing up at the beach, and you said, "Let's go." I said, "What? Let's go right now to the water." And we ran down and ran straight in. And was that the warmest, clearest, bluest thing? It was like special effects, wasn't it? I mean, wasn't that just?
Oh, the water in the Caribbean is amazing.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. It was just, oh man. And so Melissa and I did all of that together. This experience, it was just so cool. Okay, so now let's get back to the how was there carbon dating done on Maria?
Yes. And I believe she is, I mean, I say only because I think it's we want to believe she's like 8,000 years old. I think she's only 800 years old. Like one of the smaller ones were 1,200 years old, and I think she was only like 800 years old, or maybe she was 12. I can't remember exactly, but it's not that old. So that means that we're not like looking at, okay, well, maybe this is the person, or this is the group of people that built all these amazing monuments in Peru and influenced the culture. We're talking about something that's only 800 years old. I mean, that's not
yesterday.
That's yesterday. This fantasy of like these things only lived, way back then. But this was something 800 years ago. So it just adds to the mystery. And I feel like, again, it just needs to have more scientific testing. But I mean, there's just nothing we can do unless they want to help us.
It's been squashed.
I know.
It's been squashed. It's too much of a paradigm shift. I mean, it's too big of a deal. It's one thing to ponder ET visiting Earth, right? Okay, right. It's a whole nother thing to cross the line in the sand and say this is an ET body, right? I think that may be too much for the world to handle. And if that is indeed the case, I think that there's other influences out there to keep this story squashed. I think it leaked out, right? It bubbled to the surface, and with Gaia, with myself, and coast to coast, this went mainstream too quick, too fast, and it wasn't in anybody's control. There was nobody controlling your investigation. There's nobody controlling, Gaia's output on this. There's nobody controlling my voice. And, together we're speaking to millions of people, right? And breaking something like this was a really big deal. And I don't think that they had control of it. And they did everything they could to rope it back in and squash it. That's my take. And I think I'm pretty close to the mark.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, I thought, on a personal note, it was such an exciting thing to be part of. Not only the journey to get there, and the people, and the conversations, and really trying to come at it from a journalistic standpoint and a scientific standpoint, and being caught up in that, and just, yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy. I remember at one point, one of the videos, I might be wrong, but I think it had like 75 million views, right? It was like, what? And I thought, here we go. This is what we've been waiting for. And it just went away. Yeah, fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. All right, now, let's
Black Knight Satellite.
You want to go there? Is that where you want to go? Is that where
you didn't mention that, that's
okay. You know what was great for me about the Black Knight Satellite was your direction. I was so nervous about that. I was so
really. I didn't seem nervous.
Well, we're all friends and things. There's that part of it, but it's. I just wanted you to be happy, right? And you made that day so easy. There was a lot of work done on that film, Billy and I started that 2 years ago, 2 years ago, pre-pandemic on our cell phones, as you know, and we were so excited about that, and it got away from us, right? It just got away from us, and there was only one way that this could get what it deserved, and that is bringing in a director and a team to handle this. And it was funny because Billy and I laugh about it now, but we were like, we got this. We got cell phones. We can make these happen. It's like, no.
Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah, so we were so innocent back in the beginning of that, but you made it very, very easy. When you started to when you took control of the film, what did you think ultimately the goal was? And I'm talking about content, right? We started off in one direction, and then in the end, I think we had a different film. Was that by intention?
Well, first of all, there's a lot of people that were interviewed, and he really wanted them in there, and I wanted to honor that. Remember, I'm coming in at kind of the end, so I probably wouldn't have done that if that was how it worked in the beginning. But he really wanted to have this Anunnaki connection to what this thing could be and where it came from. And so we started off the film really getting into the data of what this thing could be, and you brought the NSA documents and kind of building the story of something that's been interacting with humans from a data standpoint. And then we went into, okay, well, if this is true, where could it have come from? So yeah, it did kind of get into hardcore data UFO type story, and then we're into, okay, but could this be our ancestors from Anunnaki ancestors pinging back to our planet, checking in on us, whatever the agenda is.
Were you as fascinated as I was about the whole Epsilon Buddhist connection that came from multiple sources over a period of time, and none of it was related to each other, but it kept pointing back to Epsilon?
Super fascinating. I mean, before Gaia, before Ancient Aliens, I was obsessed with the Black Knight satellite story on my own, by myself. I had read about the guy in Time magazine, and he had decoded it, and I was like, it was connected to Epsilon, and I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. This is like the best comic book story ever.
Totally true. Yeah.
So when he came to me and said he was been working on this, I said, oh, sign me up for sure. I mean, I was just passionate about it anyway. So. And
then the NSA document, having Epsilon Buddhists in it.
Crazy. This is crazy.
Like something is going on here. And if we go back historically, which we cover, I think pretty thoroughly in the film, we have to look at the historical context. In that, telescopes going back to Copernicus, right, and Galileo, have been pointing at the skies for a very long time, and mapping and trying to learn what was going on. And is the Earth at the center? Is the sun at the center? That was the first. But we were looking at this wall of stars, above us, but nobody was seeing anything moving, right? And then to suddenly have comments when you get into the modern history, 1900, Tesla and forward, 1900 up to today. We know everything that is up there, everything. And before Sputnik, technically, there was nothing supposed to be there. We hadn't launched anything, but we were seeing something in a polar orbit.
Yep.
Telescopes are pointing up there, and there was something orbiting Earth before Sputnik. That's the end of the story. Now, what was it? Was it the Black Knight satellite? Probably, but there wasn't supposed to be anything up there, but there was.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been interesting to interview Avi Loeb and his whole investigation on, I'm going to murder the name, the Hawaiian name of the satellite. Oumuamua. Because what would I don't think he would say that was the Black Knight, but could they be related? This thing that he saw that it has a man-made or controlled orbit versus something that would be gravitational pull around a planet, right? So it'd be interesting. I mean, that would have been something I would have loved to add if that was a possibility. But you never know. There could be a moment in the future.
You don't. Now I want to, if we can, and I know you're on the East Coast, but I would love to do another additional 20 minutes tonight and go into overtime with you. And only because you don't have anything to do tomorrow. You're not doing anything.
Of course
you got nothing going. You can just sleep in and do your thing. But I want to talk about consciousness. And this is something that you are deeply interested in. And but the conversation when we get into consciousness with every one of my guests is the same thing. What's your definition? What is consciousness?
Consciousness is a field that we are all interacting with, and I think it's constantly changing its tone, like we are, right? So just like 50 years from now or 50 years ago, when someone says, "Oh, well, that's common sense," well, that's probably not the same now. Meaning, 50% of something is common sense. So what I'm saying is, consciousness is this field that's ever changing, and it's never the same thing. And we are all absorbing it and functioning within it, kind of all sort of having the same thoughts at the same time.
Continue. That's interesting. I ask nearly all of my guests this question. It doesn't matter about their background, right? We all wonder about what's going on here, right? And we have our own opinions. I've never heard that take. That's pretty interesting. Well, are you suggesting that it's universal, as in the universe, that it is everywhere all the time?
Yes. Consciousness is, this is what all the new age things are about, right? So depending on who you follow or what you read or something you read on a ancient wall somewhere, it's all about connecting to this field. So there's infinite amounts of possibilities and thoughts that you can have and things you can connect with. If you aren't aware of that, then you are just in this consciousness of the planet we have, and you're just being fed things, and you're not really deciphering what it is that you are picking up. You're just existing, right? So that the whole idea of meditation and thought process and being intentional and being able to be in contact with the field is all about being able to be in contact with what is it you are looking for in the consciousness space. I also think things have there's different consciousness spheres. So for instance, I did a documentary on plant medicines, and the first part of the film, which I thought was very interesting and important to explain, that 80% of the planet is plants and trees. And, it's not humans. It's not anything else. It's 80%. They own this consciousness space. So when someone says, I've done plant medicine and I was in touch with this goddess and the forest was speaking to me, they were tapping into another consciousness field of plants. I mean, it sounds crazy, but I think that there is this conscious field, just like there's a consciousness for just humans. There's a consciousness for probably certain species of animals, and that it exists. And then the only way that you actually get out of that consciousness bubble of being the human consciousness bubble is that you are able to use those techniques that people teach in the new age spaces, and you dabble into these other consciousness space, like plants.
Yes.
Or aliens or Mars.
I went through, it was about a year ago, and I watched back to back. I go through these ebbs and, this ebb and flow of research. And I dived into trees for a minute. Mm-hmm. And I watched a few documentaries on tree communities, how trees exist, and how they communicate with each other, and there's the science behind this, right? And we're just now starting to understand this. I didn't know a few things. One, and I talk about trees being conscious, or plants, right? You have a tall tree, you have a baby tree next to it. Tall tree knows that baby tree needs sunlight. So tall tree will adjust itself to allow sunlight to come down to the baby tree. Now, how nuts is that? Right? I mean, just stop it and just take that in for a minute, right? How trees next to each other, all of this is measured and monitored. It's crazy.
It's crazy. And sorry, not to cut you off, but I just...
Well, let me finish this thought, and then I'll hand it over to you. So you have a cluster of trees, and one of the trees is missing some vitamins, right? Some minerals. Through the root system, the other trees know that this tree needs some juice, and through the root system gets the minerals that the tree that is and makes sure that it. And I was like, wait a minute, what is this? And this is real. So to think that for a second that they're not conscious, they're not thinking, they're not caring, they're not nurturing, it's crazy town. And this is I watched one documentary after another about this subject. Fascinating.
Yeah, I think it was just a couple months ago, I was reading this article about how mushrooms are the neurons of the forest. So if we think of like my consciousness bubble, I was explaining that just the plants and the trees and the vegetation, they're all communicating with each other in some kind of field, right? The mushrooms act as the neurons within the forest to communicate with tree over there. Hey, this guy over here doesn't have enough minerals. What do you think? They actually were able to. I don't know how this is possible, but
no, I saw the same thing. I saw continue, but I saw the exact same thing. It was
so just like here's the thing: we can believe this more than we can believe that humans are part of some consciousness field. By the way, don't you think that's just crazy for a second? People are still thinking like, I don't know. I mean, meditation makes me feel better, but I don't know about this whole thing with the field and everything like that. But they believe the whole thing with the trees and the mushrooms and the neurons. And anyway, so back to the mushrooms and the neurons. So they were able to calculate somehow that the mushrooms actually have like 6 words that they say. Like they were able to decipher the words. Like they spell out, and I don't, by the way, I don't know exactly. This is a scientific paper. This was like a Nature magazine or something like that. How they were able to figure out what the words are. There's like 6 words that they believe that these mushrooms say to the forest. My mind's blown. That's all I gotta say. Yeah. I don't even have to take drugs. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. So I just spent a bunch of time, a few months in Northern California in the Redwoods. And I'm watching these documentaries and I'm learning, and you walk around at my brother's house in his front yard, like his front patio, 2 feet in front of the front patio, this redwood tree. It's got to be 8 feet in diameter at the base. Oh my God, right?
Beautiful.
But he's in the middle of the redwoods up there in Mendocino. And you just, the magnificence of it. So anyway, this is what I did. I did this every day. I went out in the morning, got my coffee, and I would stare out at these magnificent 300, 400 foot trees blowing in the wind together, right? And working. And then you just look around and you understand that they've got it down. Trees got it down. They've been doing it for thousands of years, and they know what to do to exist. And it's magnificent to see nature like that work all together. And so anyway, so one day I'm sitting out there and deer are everywhere. Deer. I mean, it's just like crazy amounts of deer and bears and stuff. But this mom deer had 2 baby deers, right, following her, and they're doing their thing. And I'm watching, and I said, wait a minute. Don't they only have 1 baby at a time? She had twins. How cool is that, right? So now I'm looking at twin baby deer.
Cool. I don't think I've ever seen
the
that.
Forest. Yeah. And you just get this whole nother appreciation to what nature is. And I'm fully aware that all of this, obviously deers are conscious, right? They're sentient, and I get that. But so are trees, so are nature, and the forest has got it down. They know what to do to survive, and they take care of each other. It's fascinating. It's fascinating science.
Sure is.
Let's take a break. I'm going to continue with consciousness, though, when we come back after the break. And the idea of being able to communicate with ET is one thing, Melissa, but I think ET must be communicating with each other. The universe is a big place. You're not going to do it with a radio or a cell phone or something mechanical. You're going to do it with your head. And I want to talk about that when we come back. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Melissa Tittle. You ready? One more segment, Melissa.
Okay.
One more segment. You'll be all right. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. What a great conversation tonight. We'll continue when we come back, right where we're leaving off after this short break. Stay with us.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
Hey, what up, y'all? It's your girl Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Hello, Fadernauts. Jimmy Church here. You've seen me with my thunderstorm. Now you can purify the air in your home and get healthy, clean, fresh-smelling air and eliminate odors just like I do right here in the bunker. The Eden Pure Thunderstorm uses oxy technology that naturally sends out O3 molecules into the air, which seek out odors and air pollutants in your home and destroys them. It's called a thunderstorm because it purifies the air just like after a thunderstorm. And right now, you can save $200 on an Eden Pure Thunderstorm 3-pack for whole home protection. With this special offer, you're getting 3 units for under $200. Seriously. Go to EdenPureDeals.com and use Fader3. Shipping is free and it's easy. Just scroll down. You'll see my name right there, Jimmy Church. Click on it and get your deal today. That's EdenPureDeals.com.
This is Billy Carson, founder and CEO of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv is the fastest growing and one of the most watched networks in the world. And I would like to personally invite you to check out our expanding library of TV, film, lectures, and special presentations. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv has over 6,000 videos covering lost history, health, UFOs, spirituality, and our future. We are committed to our community, and with my personal invitation, you can, right now, get your own free 30-day membership at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Your own library of information starts today at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, the X.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? Unex Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNXDB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from River Moon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JamieChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back. Heading straight into overtime with Melissa Tittle. She asked me earlier today, she goes, well, you know, how long? I said, we're just going to talk for about 30 minutes. It's not that big of a deal. It's going to be in and out, Melissa. Don't worry about a thing. So I wanted to, I've heard a lot of comments about the season finale of UFO Witness, and which I didn't see. Okay, but I've read this enough. I guess you and Ben suggested that there were eight different species visiting the Earth and part of the Galactic Federation. What was said, and can you comment on that?
Yes. So I have like three different narratives running in my head right now. So let me say something. Let me say something first.
Okay.
I am gonna say I am proud of mainstream for taking this conversation into the mainstream, because there's been no show about aliens where on mainstream, not Gaia, mainstream, where they are talking about species and people being abducted and what the species look like. And so this is their first attempt of doing so. And, they had ideas of, I was like, well, do you want to talk to me a little bit more about it before you make drawings and stuff of them? But they're like, no, we got it. So what I'm saying is I'm really proud of Discovery Plus for moving the conversation forward. I don't know if these beings exist. They haven't been in my bedroom, but I know that there's lots of cases of the similar types of beings that have been seen for a long time. Long time. These, Palladians, Nordics, these blue beings, all the kind of
reptilian,
Draco. Exactly. Grays, whatever. So I'm really, I applaud that, because they're pushing the narrative forward. They're allowing for more stuff besides the trajectory of the thing and the whatever. But so the conclusion was Ben and I were talking about, like, all these, creating patterns within the cases that we were seeing, was that it seems that there's like 6 or 7 prevalent groups that are what people see. And I would say that is true in some aspects, not even if you're on UFO Witness, but if you just take all the MUFON accounts and people will say it looks like a mantis or a gray bean or a tall white or a Nordic or the blue beans or, all that kind of stuff. So it's a pretty powerful conclusion, because I don't think that's been done on mainstream before. We're actually deciphering what they might look like if they are real.
Okay. So, I wanted to ask you this, and then we're going to stay right here on this subject. You're not directing, right? You are the host on UFO Witness, right?
No, I'm the host.
And so, do you take direction well?
It's funny. Everyone says that to me, but I'm pretty cut and dry. So if I'm not being paid to produce something, I show up as talent.
Right.
What do you want me to do?
And
unless it like is really against my morals, I'm like, no, I'm not going to say that. But I pretty much play ball. I mean, the only thing like my crew they like laugh about now, but is that I really wanted to have hair and makeup, but that wasn't allowed in the show. We were just moving around too much. It didn't make sense. And I wanted a Starbucks coffee, and that's probably about it for like me wanting things. But other than that, like I'm pretty much like, okay, whatever. I signed up for this. I'm talent.
You're not playing the diva card. I'm full diva. I'm full diva on set. I'm difficult. I'm just difficult. But the content for UFO Witness, when you're a host, how is that different? Do you have to mold yourself in to the content, or do you have a little bit of creative license?
So they have they'll have a conversation with us that they found some really interesting people that they want us to interview.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll give us an overview of what they think is interesting. And then from there, Ben and I just do what we would do even if the cameras weren't on. We would ask those questions, and we would want to know what we were actually saying. So when they prep us a little bit on what they think is interesting, then once we start filming, they just leave us alone. Like we just go in there as an investigation. They're a fly on the wall, and then we do our work.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I always find that interesting in doing production work. You get your stuff done, but then after that, it's in editors. It's the producers and the EP. And that's the show. You hope for what your vision is, but in the end, it's up to the network.
Yeah. And I know that because I work with the networks all the time. So I'm not going to win any battle because somebody. I mean, I hate to say this, but somebody cares what I think. Like at the network, like they're trying to make a show.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I definitely. There was some times where I kind of inserted myself of you should maybe probably do it this way because you're going to get a lot of people that are not going to agree with you, and you want your viewers to like it. But I thought that I thought our team was great, and it is really hard to do an alien show because I think with ghosts and stuff, you set all your technology up and you go into a haunted house and you're like, woo, right? And everyone loves the shock factor. But with aliens, you're really investigating people's experiences and you're trying to see if you believe that person. And then of course you're looking for evidence. Do they have implants in their body? Is there something in their backyard? Do they have pictures? All that kind of stuff. So it's a slower, drawn out, mysterious process, and as a filmmaker, that's got to be hard to film.
You know what? Resident Alien. There was a comment I think on the last episode or the episode before. It's a comedy. It's great. I love it. Right, but there was this. So he goes, the alien. Right. He goes. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the implants out of the humans that the Greys put in, and I'm going to put them back into the Greys and confuse them. Right?
Would that be funny?
Yeah, well, somebody, the writers for that show are brilliant, right? They're a part of this community. They're probably listening to Fade to Black right now.
Awesome.
And there's crazy comments throughout. They've got a guy. There's a character in there they call the Alien Hunter. Right?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Sound a little familiar?
We know who that is.
Yeah, and I thought about that. So how far? And he even looks like Daryl, by the way. He's dressed in black and the whole thing.
Oh my God, he's full on cowboy. I love it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You need to watch it. But there's also something going on here with those types of comments where it may be a comedy, Melissa, but it's the media taking control of the story and what is going on out there. There's too many little things in there where they are definitely aware of this community and they are listening and getting ideas to present to the rest of the world. The people that are watching a show like Resident Alien, they're not listening to Fade to Black. That's not my core audience. That's that's the masses, right? That are watching that show that have no idea what Coast to Coast or Gaia or Fade to Black or anything. No, they're not. They're getting their knowledge from a comedy show, and the comedy show's got the nuggets of reality in it. It's fascinating to see. What I wanted to go back to, so these 8 species visiting the Earth, there has to be the same consciousness tap in that we've been talking about in the show between us and them. Mm-hmm. And I think that there are a lot of people out there, myself included, that have made some type of mind to mind entanglement, physical connection where it's beyond coincidence when these things happen. Are you aware of that? And do you think that that's what that is? It's we're all on the same neural network?
Yes and no, meaning I think that people are aware of it, are definitely logged into that network, and people that aren't aware of it, there are things that are happening to them. That it's not that they're unconnected to the network, but they're not necessarily understanding how it's working. There's just things that are happening to them. And I think that if you're intentional, I mean, we see this all the time with CE5s. Someone just interviewed me the other day and they asked me, well, do you think CE5s are real? And I said, well, we just said, we were talking about this earlier. For thousands of years, people have been in contact with something through some kind of deep meditation or plant medicine or something. So I think that they're definitely interacting with somebody. And if you are intentional, then you can direct your energy to make contact with whatever that could be. Now, with the case with abductions, and I'm sure you've had a lot of people on your show who have had this happen, they tell their story like, look, I didn't believe in aliens. I just am a normal person walking around my day. And then all of a sudden I'm being abducted at night and my genetic material is taken. So then you're thinking, okay, well, that person is not being intentional with this contact. So why are they being contacted? I think that that goes back to that whole DNA conversation where you get into the idea that there's something in their DNA makeup where they're a conduit, which is different than existing in the network and being intentional in the network. This person is somehow a conduit for things to reach them. Mm-hmm. So if I was an alien species in another dimension and I'm trying to find something to reach out to, I would probably be able to find something. I mean, just think about this in a computer data system, right? You're searching for something and a number comes up and you're like, okay, click, right? That's kind of how I feel about these people with that just randomly get picked to have these experiments done to them. Basically, that's what abductions seem to me. So I think there's like 3 parts. There's awareness, There's non-awareness, and then there's people that are almost conduits within the system to experience things coming through them or coming to them.
When you meditate, I think that, or anybody that meditates, but you specifically, you are aware of something else, whether it's another dimension, another reality, a parallel world, but you are able to tap into and see and feel something that is different than when you open up your eyes and you come out of the meditation. Now you're back into the 3D reality, right?
Right.
Is that evidence of the multiverse, a parallel world, another dimension, and certainly something that ET would have to be aware of too? And is that meditative state the go-between where those connections are made? And you talked about plant-based, connections too as well, and I think that would suggest
Same
that.
thing. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think. I mean, that goes back to the studies they've done on the pineal gland being the receiver in the radio system in your head, right? I think that if you are open, then you are definitely activating that into that system. And I think the greatest meditations, if you can get into a deep space, I think what you really need to be searching for is your higher self, not anything else. Because that'll teach you enough about what you need to learn in the universe. I think it's like being a human and constantly looking for other people to tell you what to do. I mean, I don't want a bunch of aliens in my head. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, that's always my biggest fear. We can talk about this and entanglement or telepathy or mind meld and all. I don't want to. I like going to a party with a couple of hundred people or speaking at a conference, or whatever, but I'm at least in control what I can interact with. Right?
Yeah, but exactly.
If you go into that crowded room, right, and everybody has access to me as well, right?
Nope.
No, not at all.
So that brings up the point of, okay, well, if you're trying to get a hold of your higher self, like, what does that even mean? I mean, that just sounds like, okay, like the better part of yourself. It would be you and other dimensions of existence that would be able to access knowledge in that dimension of existence. I mean, the universe is infinite. So if you're tapping into yourself in different versions of time and space,
right,
that's where you learn the most about the universe. And that's where, think about the greatest scientists, musicians, artists they all talk about how they're connected to something otherworldly. I'm not saying it's aliens. I just felt like I was going to say a Giorgio line there for a second. I almost caught myself.
Yeah, you did. So there was a director of note that you and I both know. A couple of years ago, he calls me up out of the blue. Jimmy. So what's up, man? I smoked DMT last night. I said, oh, really? Aliens are real. I said, okay, what? He said, man, I sat and talked to 2 aliens. I said, for how long? For about 15 minutes. I said, okay, and it's real. You can go into this other world and it's real. I said, what are you trying to say? He said, man, it scared the crap out of me. I had no control. I went there. It was another world. I talked to 2 aliens and then I left. I said, would you do it again? He goes, no. He said,
sounds like an experience in New York City late at night.
Now, have you done the DMT thing?
I haven't actually. No.
Would you?
At this point, I'm always pretty open to things, but I feel like my meditations are super powerful. I go to super weird places and I get amazing downloads of weird stuff that I kind of don't want to mess it up with anything else.
Right.
And I mean, I've tried ayahuasca. I've done
you
shrooms
have?
a bunch. Like,
You-
I mean, I used to love all that stuff, but then I just got to a point where I'm like, well, I kind of don't need that. Like, and I feel like plant medicine is the gateway to what you're supposed to do is have the experience and then train yourself to do it without it. That's the whole purpose, but people just keep doing it.
Mhm,
So I'm just at this point where I'm like, okay, well, I'm pretty good at having trippy experiences without any drugs.
Can I ask you? I know it's a personal thing, but when you did the ceremony, ayahuasca, did you meet the goddess? Did you have a conversation?
I did not meet the goddess that everyone talks about.
Right.
I did see a lot of weird stuff. Like I felt like I was just flying out in space. It was so weird. I felt some people experience this. There was like this bliss moment of like all these colors and everything, and then it was just like the darkness came in hard. And it was like all these feelings and emotions. And I felt like I was going through maybe some past trauma of some life I'd never even lived before. And it just was difficult and it was hard. But then after, like I left, went on with my daily life. And for some reason, I felt like a complete release, even though when I think back at it, it was sort of torturous. For some reason, I was like, you know what? It's all good. Everything's fine. Everything's going to work out. That was great. Got that done. Behind me.
Right. So many have talked about this is what science has been pursuing for a very long time, to find evidence of a parallel world or an extra dimension beyond the four that we have, and that this needs to be researched further. Mm-hmm. And the people that come back from these experiences independently verify this, that this isn't LSD, this isn't this. No, this is something else altogether, where you are accessing this other dimension. Is that what you came away with? And
sure,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like those layers of consciousness I was talking about that like we barely understand, but like, I mean, we were just talking about plants and we were talking about humans and, and then we were talking about aliens, but think about all those different consciousness bubbles. You're just accessing different layers of that existence. I mean, I didn't see any aliens or anything, but I definitely accessed a deep subconsciousness of humanity for sure.
Yeah. I don't know if I have an ayahuasca ceremony in me at this point of my life, right? And that was one of you at this stage, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of like
10 years ago, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, different situation. Today, probably not. But DMT is a 15-minute in and out, right? So I'm kind of okay with that. But here's the thing. Do I need the experience, right? This isn't a recreational, funny, ha-ha thing, right? This isn't smoking pot or drinking shots of vodka.
They're doing helium.
Yeah, right. Whippets. No, that's not what, and it shouldn't be treated like that. This is not a recreational thing. This is not funny, ha-ha stuff.
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic that you could talk. That's going to come out very soon. I think people are just like, there's just all these people like going over to people's apartments and doing ayahuasca. Like the whole thing is supposed to be a ceremony with someone who's supposed to guide you to an interdimensional plane. And now people are just doing this and blowing away their auric field and getting lots of attachments and weirdness happening to them afterwards. I think there's not enough education about it. There's just like an exploration of it, which is amazing. I don't think people should not explore, but the process of what it's supposed to represent has been lost. And I guarantee in the next year that'll come out, that kind of backlash.
I agree with you. A bunch of fraternity bros, right? On a plane. Dude, we're going to Ecuador, man. We're going to go do ayahuasca party. And they come back from that and go, well, what did you expect? This is a ceremony. This isn't, hey man, you got the keg? to bring it to the jungle when we do the ceremony. No, that's not what it's about.
No.
And you are going to see a side of yourself that you're probably not going to like if you are approaching it like that.
Agreed. You got to be careful.
Yeah. Melissa, what a great conversation. I can't believe we waited almost a decade.
I know.
So, but we will do it again very soon. And we've got lots of other stuff that we're doing. Just thank you so much. And thank you for your immeasurable amount of contributions to this community. Keep doing what you're doing.
Oh, thank you, Jimmy. Thanks for having me on. And have a good night, everybody.
Melissa Tittl. I know, totally. Melissa's links are below. She's out there, so if you need to reach out, you can. But you'll be able to follow everything that she is doing and working on, and of course, UFO Witness too as well. Okay, thank you so much, Melissa. Behave and be well.
All right, you too. Have a good night.
Good night. What a great conversation. Thank you, Melissa. And what a great way to wrap up this week here on Fade to Black. 3 great nights, 3 amazing minds were on Fade to Black this week. And tomorrow night is another Fader night with open lines all night long. Whew, man. What a week. What a great conversation tonight. So much to, this is the thing when it comes to Melissa and others like her in her community. And I'm talking about the directors, the producers, the writers, the journalists. We talked tonight about the Nazca mummies. That was, it still is and should be a very, very big deal. That was Melissa that flew down to Peru and touched those mummies and brought the stuff, the x-rays back to the United States for other professionals to take a look. That was Melissa. And that is her commitment to this community. She's unreal. She sent me, I've got to get out of here. I've only got a few seconds left. I don't want to say too much about this, but anyway, so she sent me some interesting points that she wanted to work on. And she sent me this list of stuff. I went, this is what you're into right now? And I couldn't talk about it tonight on the show, but it was so deep, philosophical, science, physics related, but very deep and profound subjects. And that's what she's out there doing. She is really, really trying to collect this knowledge. And that is Melissa Tittl. Melissa, thank you so much. What a great, amazing conversation tonight. And tomorrow night, we'll follow everything up. It's been a busy week here in the community. Lots of stuff to talk about tomorrow night on Fade to Black, which is produced by Hilton J. Paul, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitola, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy. SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and it's owned and copyrighted 2022 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be downloaded, rebroadcast, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black of the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Until tomorrow night with Fader Night, open lines all night long. I want everybody to be safe. Go Beckley Tappy.